Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Is it time? Are we there?
It is. We are.
Then let's go.
So we didn't get to touch on the Echoes Award winners over the weekend.
That kind of went under the radar a little bit, didn't it?
Completely under the radar. And that's, for those not familiar with the Echoes, that's the team awards thing that they do, where they hand out the awards at the end of the season. So Riley Leonard was team MVP. Xavier Watts was Defensive Player of the Year. Bryce Young, Special Teams Player of the Year.
Yep.
Riley Mills got the Iron Cross Award. Justin Fisher, our Mishawaka guy,
man.
Offensive Scout Team Player of the Year. Jack Kaiser was the Man of the Year. Jeremiah Love, the Offensive Player of the Year. Emil Wagner got the Scholar Athlete. Max Hurleman was the Walk-On of the Year. And Sean Sevillano Jr. was the Defensive Scout Team Player of the Year. So, disagree with any? Are there any that you would shuffle around? What do you think?
I've been trying to find one that I would disagree with, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm having a hard time kind of coming up with one.
Yeah.
Because I think they're all like, I can't necessarily vote on who the scout team players of the year are. We're not at practice, right? I mean, those guys are talented, and I agree because I like who they are and I think they're talented, but we're not there. So those kind of have to go off the list, right? Hurlman as the walk-on of the year. Which other walk-on would make sense there? Because Faison's not a walk-on anymore. Faison probably won this award last year. You know what I mean? So Hurlman is the obvious choice for me in that category. And then the rest, I don't know what Emil Wagner's grades are, but apparently they're good. So, Kaiser deserves something because he's a leader on this team and he's been here forever. So I have no problem with him getting the Man of the Year, whatever that entails, right? And Mills, Iron Cross, that sounds right for a defensive lineman. So I'm cool with that because I think it would have been a great debate between Cross and Mills, possibly if Cross was healthy all season. But the thing about Mills is he stepped up when Cross went down. So I feel like, okay, I'm in, right? I think that's great. Leonard MVP. Yeah, you're not here without Riley Leonard. Watts, Defensive Player of the Year.
That's what
makes sense.
I think MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, that Jeremiah Love got, those, that might have been the discussion, because, the way they always spread this out, everybody gets a little of something. But I think it makes sense because the quarterback, you're not here without Riley Leonard. So I think that you can argue that he's the most valuable, and Jeremiah Love makes sense as the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I think they all make sense. I had trouble coming up with somebody else, to be perfectly honest with you.
I mean, in Father David, the walk-on of the year, I think conversation for Tyler Buckner there. Buckner kind of hits a little bit of all of these things, the scout team quarterback for both of the service academy games, Army and Navy. He's the scout team quarterback, and look how Notre Dame just demolished, both of those really good offenses, and what he did on the field, with the fakes and stuff like that.
That's a good call.
He, I think it makes sense, but I think it also makes sense, for what Max Hurleman turned into, much less heralded, and
he had a bigger role. I mean, let's be honest, he's got a bigger role, right?
It's just that, Tyler Buckner, the spotlight was a little bit brighter on him just because we had history with
correct.
Him. So, yeah, I think they're good. So, former College GameDay analyst David Pollock, who of course was a great linebacker at the University of Georgia back in his playing days, he was on Todd McShay's podcast this week, and he had this to say about Notre Dame.
Buying into what Notre Dame's selling, and that you could legitimately see them making a run at the national championship. Am I wrong in that assessment?
No, you're right. And I know that kind of, after all the years, Todd, that we've done this, it's kind of hard to get it out because they've let us down so many times in big moments. But, man, with the teams that are extremely flawed this year, which we've gone down the list of those throughout the year, I think Notre Dame knows exactly who they are. Mm-hmm. I think who they are will travel. I think who they are will be consistent. They got 3 guys that average over 6 yards a carry. I think that will serve them well in the playoffs. I think the passing game, listen, it This ain't an air raid attack by any stretch, but they're going to attack the middle of the field, easy throws. They put you in conflict. They got a running quarterback that can do, and their defense is really good. I think their defense is physical. I think they're fast. I think they play their tails off. I worry about the kicking game because I think they're like 6 for 12 in field goals. That ain't good. That part definitely scares me, but I just watch them and I'm like, why not Notre Dame?
Why not Notre Dame? So that's David Pollock on the Todd McShay podcast. And, I thought he made a lot of great, like for starters, it's true. Notre Dame has, let a lot of people down in these games in the past, waiting for him to dig out of it. And there's no disputing the kicking thing. We've talked about that the last couple of weeks. That, like, to me, that is one of my bigger concerns. Like, if,
I get that
on a Friday night, at 11:30, it's that ball is frozen solid and you're asking a kicker, who's had some injury and, consistency issues. That to me is a big hit. What'd you think of the rest of what he said, though?
It's amazing what happens when your paycheck isn't from ESPN, that you have a reason.
Do you think it's all changed now?
You have a reasoned football analysis when it comes to Notre Dame. Like, I'm here for it. But look, all joking aside, he's clearly watched these games. He's clearly watched Notre Dame. He knew about the field goal kicking issues. He knows about, 3 guys with over 6 yards per carry. Like, he knows who this team is. He knows what they're good at. But he also knows what their flaws are. Like, that's solid analysis. And when he's done analyzing the entire situation, he thinks Notre Dame can make a run. I got to tell you, I guess I'm a little surprised, but at the same time, that's solid analysis. Solid analysis.
No, I know. And, like, who they are travels. And I hadn't really thought about that until I heard him say that. But he's exactly right. Because, what's Marcus Freeman wanted, to build this team around? Offensive, defensive, line-driven team. And, like, you'll hear some more comments here coming up in a second. But, like, more and more people are just really impressed by this Notre Dame offensive line, that we sat back and we're like, what is this thing, for most of the season. They're really impressed by it. And, when you've got a great defense like Notre Dame has, it's going to keep you in every game. And, like, that's what, just like look all the way back to the Texas A&M game and the way that thing played out. And like when I look at Indiana as an example, are they going to make some plays? Sure, they're going to make some plays. But I feel like because of Notre Dame's defense, like at the end of the day, Notre Dame is going to be the one who has the chance to make more explosive plays than Indiana is going to have in that game. And, like you said, that'll travel anywhere. And we've seen it all season long. Now, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I would have liked to seen Notre Dame more tested against, a little bit better defense somewhere along the line, but it is what it is at this point.
Yep. Could not agree more.
Does it increase your confidence, though, in Notre Dame's chances, or make you feel more uneasy when you hear someone like Pollock kind of heap that praise on him?
This is going to sound super conceited, but I don't really care what other people say. Like, I trust my eyes and the games that I watch. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, I trust my own analysis. It's just nice to hear somebody say what I think as well. You know what I mean? Based on actually watching the games. Like, I can be just as critical as the next guy when it comes to Notre Dame. They've got flaws too, right? But, it makes me... I guess it reassures me, that what I think my analysis is kind of spot on. So I guess that's a really conceited answer, which is not the way I meant that to come out, but that's what happened. So
it does, though.
It does. It's fine.
Very conceited.
But, like, I don't care what other people have to say. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like the national people, I care what you have to say, Sean Stein.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure you do.
I do. I just rest on every word.
All right, so here's some more. Now we've got McShay and Pollock with their take on Riley Leonard right now.
Riley Leonard, here's the difference with Riley Leonard. I think, to your point, he actually knows exactly who he is now and knows exactly what this team is. And even, like, there was a play 18 for whatever it's worth. There was a play against USC. He's rolling to the right. He's got a receiver. I think it was the tight end. It was a scramble rules. The receivers are kind of now trying to break free at the end. He's rolling to his right. He's got a chance to take a vertical shot. Receiver's open. He should have taken the chance, right? But he turns it down just to go pick up a few yards. And it kind of spoke to, while it's frustrating, I'm like, just take the shot downfield. It speaks to, it's more important that we get the safe, secure, guaranteed yards here, pick up, and we'll run the ball on next down and keep things moving than it is to take a shot and maybe something bad happens. So
there's so many things, by the way, I love about that people just don't understand at home. Like, if you want to know if people watch tape like Todd, it's when they get excited about offensive linemen and they start going 54 and they talk about seal blocks and they talk about quarterbacks taking vertical shots. Like, and here's the thing with Riley Leonard. He ain't great at that. Yeah. He ain't. But you know what? 88's a big freaking target. 9's a big freaking target. I think they can use that, and I think they can stay in every game. I think they can be physical, but you're right. I don't. There's not a lot of flash and sizzle. Like, there's not a ton of explosive plays, but they're going to make you defend. They're not going to make a ton of mistakes. He's not going to make a ton of mistakes, and that quarterback element of the run, and he ain't scared. Like, he is going to lower his shoulder. He takes more hard shots than anybody to get extra yards. So I'm with you. I'm with you on the Irish, and I just love the tape mentions on play 18, rolling to his right. He threw it behind his back and made a nice catch.
I thought that I had, I guess it must have been another part, but like McShay was talking about how he loved 54. Like he was like Anthony Knapp. 54. And he was talking about how that left side of the line is working so well together. And I mean, to me, obviously, like when
74 is a big part of that.
Yes. And that was going to be but when Strouth, that's really when this line really started clicking, is when Strouth came back and moved over to the left side,
absolutely,
next to Anthony Knapp. Like the issues that Anthony Knapp whatever, like
right.
They have greatly diminished since you've had Strouth over there next to him. But it's but like the point here to Riley Leonard, I mean, basically, what you hear him talking about is like Riley Leonard just knows how to win football games, and like he's not going to necessarily go out there and be the greatest passer. And like you heard about, like lack explosive plays. Obviously, that is more the lack of explosion has come in the passing game, where you would like to see more of that, but the guy just goes out there and finds ways to win games.
Yep.
And again, it goes back to that drive at the end of the Texas A&M game for me, but he has become so much more comfortable with just like the whole operation as this season has gone on.
And that's I think that's the biggest takeaway from this entire season for the offense is you can tell how comfortable Riley Leonard is. You can tell how comfortable Mike Denbrock is with Riley Leonard and the whole thing. I mean, we've talked about this a bunch, but it's true. And other people are seeing it, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. And if you didn't think that Pollock was watching film, the fact that he just rattled off a bunch of numbers of guys that play for Notre Dame, including the backup tight end, by the way.
Right.
Tells me
obviously he was talking about Mitchell Evans. He was talking about Eli Raridan.
He's clearly watching film of this team, which I appreciate. I appreciate that. And look, I don't know kind of what he does with his podcast or, whatever. I don't know. But he's clearly taking the time to watch Notre Dame, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the analysis. And Todd McShay as well. He clearly watched Notre Dame games as well and can speak intelligently about what he's seen.
Right. And like McShay obviously watches things from, like, he used to be on with, like right. I do miss the Todd McShay, Mel Kiper arguments that they used to have
100%.
On ESPN. I mean, that was like great TV, and the fact that it's gone. He had, so he had been out of the game kind of for a little bit after leaving ESPN, so just kind of his backstory. And this season he started showing up. You might remember, I think it was with you last week. It might've been with Jesse. We played some comments from the Ryan Russillo show. It was like McShay and Russillo. It might have been.
It wasn't me, but that's okay. So
he's been on the McShay He's been on the Russillo show a lot this year, and they'll talk, college football and stuff like that. And then just within the last month, maybe month and a half, he got his own show on the Ringer Podcast Network.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of, like sort of the
because he kind of disappeared for a while.
He did
fell off the face of the earth.
He did, but he's still crunching film, like you said.
Love that though. I love it.
But I do think it's interesting that, because we talked about this, I think it was probably early November. The pass efficiency numbers for Riley Leonard have not been great because of the Northern Illinois game. But Notre Dame currently ranks 38th in team passing efficiency. So again, like for the entire season, not great. But if you look at Riley Leonard since the Northern Illinois game, and again, it's been probably a month or so, we updated this. He's got a passer rating of 152.19, which would rank number 22 in the nation. So he is considerably higher since then, with over 1,700 yards, 16 touchdown passes, and the 3 interceptions. And all of that, of course, does not take into account his rushing numbers. And I think that, that's what, again, like you're talking about cold weather.
Yep.
You've got 2 explosive running backs who can take it to the house on any given play. And you've got Riley Leonard,
who can take it to the house on any given play, by the way.
Exactly. And that's my point. I think that actually plays very well. There are times that you would like a bit more from Riley Leonard and the receiving core, as passers, but it just feels like because of the threat of the run, when you've got at least 2 of those 3 guys on the field at any given time between Leonard, Price, and Love, like that, there's just that constant threat, that you're putting defenses in, and he just finds a way more times than not, just to get the job done and keep the sticks moving, like they were talking about there.
Yeah,
and I do think that plays at this part of the year.
I could not agree more. Look, at the end of the day, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, now, and everywhere in between. I don't care how Riley Leonard scores touchdowns, whether it's with his feet, whether it's with his arm, it's touchdowns accounted for. And for everybody that's like, oh, Rourke is going to be the man, he's going to do all, they account for about almost identical amount of touchdowns this year. Identical amount. So they all score the same to me, Sean. So
That's right. Like, if all you're going to do is look at passing numbers, no, you're not going to be blown away by Riley Leonard. But he's a dual threat quarterback, and he's accounted for over 30 touchdowns. And all told, I haven't even looked at his stats here recently. He's pushing 3,000 total yards basically right now, and 30 touchdowns with just 5 interceptions. So, not bad, because all those touchdowns count. Okay, one more soundbite. Oh, before I do the soundbite, Brent says, where does Riley Leonard go in the NFL draft?
You're asking the wrong guys, really, to be honest with you.
I think that you might be looking kind of just like Sam Hartman, like a free agent sign kind of thing. He would be an interesting kind of guy, though, like speaking of Sam Hartman, because you have Jaden Daniels in Washington and, the kind of offense they run. Leonard would be an interesting kind of guy, as a backup for that kind of offense, that kind of quarterback.
Yep.
But because the NFL is still a passing league, and you do have to be able to consistently throw the ball better than what Leonard is. College and pro, 2 totally different things, obviously. Yeah, and I tend to probably agree with what Chris Sabo was saying. Probably not, like I said, probably more free agent type guy, but I can see him getting it. I keep clicking and they keep showing up. I know.
Just kidding.
So
I just texted Ryan Roberts, see what he has to say. I'm not saying I disagree with anything you guys are saying, because teams are going to value throwing the ball more than running the ball, obviously, in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. And that's why Rourke is probably more of a NFL draft prospect than Riley Leonard is, to be perfectly honest with you. He said, so Ryan Roberts, I said, Leonard's draft stock, ? He goes, day 3 dart throw right now. So there you go.
Yeah,
which
like somebody might take a shot at him.
Yeah, because
like
he
in the
fits
5th or 6th
system
round. Yeah,
that they want to run. Right. It's going to have. Look, Riley Leonard's going to be a system guy. He's going to be He's only going to work in certain systems, and I think that is going to be a big part of that as well.
Right. Okay, so a final comment from the McShay show. This is Steve Muench, who I believe is kind of, like the one of the producer for the show, but kind of takes part in the show as well. Here's why he likes Notre Dame.
Yeah, go ahead, Muench.
I like teams that can run the ball and stop the run this time of year. And you could say, all these games are inside. That's great. It's the end of the year, man. People are worn out. And if you can get guys, if you have a running attack like that and you can stop the run, I think it puts you in a great position for a playoff run.
So I went and studied some tape. There's some things that I love. Truly, like that offensive line, 54, his feet, seal blocks, moving, pass protection, the left tackle, the left guard next to him, second level blocks, the way they move together, the center, number 70, the combo blocks. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Watching their offensive line, truly, like the way they work, and like you said, they know who they are. To me, Jeremiah Love, I love love. You used to say that.
There's the love. Let's go.
Yeah, and he's different than he's not Jadarian Price. He's not 4, but he's all right. He's a good back.
He's all right.
He's all right. And so again, he's crunching. I knew that there was a place where I had that where he was talking about Knapp. 54.
He's gotten a lot better, and
yeah,
it helps when you bring back Notre Dame's best offensive lineman, and stick them right next door to Anthony Knapp. But they have both adapted very well to playing next to each other. It was a little rocky at first, because 74 was a little too worried about what 54 was doing. You know what I mean? But it has gotten so much better, and they work. He's not wrong. Like, if you just popped in Notre Dame film and you hadn't watched it all year long, you know what I mean? As far as the offensive line, you wouldn't 54 is unrecognizable from what he was when he first started.
Totally different guy right now.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Unrecognizable.
And again, like, it's amazing just what having Schrouth next to him has done, I think.
No doubt about it. And look, he's a true freshman. He's allowed to get better. You know what I mean? Like, the first game out is not the finished product, and he's going to continue to get better as time goes on. And obviously, again, having Billy Schrouth next to him does not hurt the progression.
This is a good one from Outbound about Leonard. He said he would be a good Josh Allen backup, just needs to be a little bit better passing, but maybe a better passer than we have seen this year. It takes time to get on the same page with receivers. Again, like that kind of, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even, like that, those kind of offenses. I think that would be a place. You put an athlete like Riley Leonard in there. If he's the number, he'd start off as the number 3 most likely, because of the, like the passing stuff. But, so like even if he's scout team for a year or so and then, ultimately get some kind of opportunity, I think that those would be great fits for a guy like Riley Leonard, potentially. All right. So Heisman Trophy nominees are out. We got the Heisman ceremony this weekend. You got Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel, Miami quarterback Cam Ward, Colorado two-way player Travis Hunter, and Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. They are the 4 finalists. So, Vince, who's going to win the Heisman Trophy?
I think Travis Hunter is going to win, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's a 2-man race, and then there's the other 2 guys. That's kind of how I feel about this whole thing. Like, Cam Ward was who Miami was, and when he struggled even a little bit, they lost. And then Dillon Gabriel is the quarterback on an undefeated football team, so that's why he's there. And then you've got Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. Those are the 2 top guys, and you're going to almost be split between Hunter and Jeanty, because Jeanty is an amazing back for what he does and who he is and how he has put this entire team on his backside and taking them to the college football playoff. There's no doubt about it. Travis Hunter, I think, is special. I mean, he's not the best wide receiver in the country. He's not the best corner in the country, but he's really freaking good at both.
Yes.
And
really
he plays all game long. And people, I feel like, kind of put that in a box someplace because they don't understand how difficult that actually is. And not only playing at a high level at both positions, but also practicing
right.
at a high level at both those positions.
You know, because there have been guys, you know, like Woodson, for example, you know, like there have been guys over the years who like, okay, your primary job is offense. And it's like, okay, you play him like 6 snaps a game, let him go out and run around and play receiver, you know, return punts or whatever. Travis Hunter played 709 offensive snaps and 713 defensive snaps this year. That's 1,422 total snaps, 118 snaps per game. So like compare that. Xavier Watts played 714 snaps total, 59 snaps a game. Riley Leonard, 683 total, 57 snaps per game. So, you know, again, like he's playing full-time, Hunter, on both sides of the ball, and he's not just playing. 92 receptions for over 1,100 yards and 14 touchdown catches.
You tell me Notre Dame wouldn't want a receiver just to do that?
That's Notre Dame's team practically right there.
Like, just do that. Like, you want a receiver just to be a receiver, you would kill for that.
Yeah.
You kill for it.
And then he had 11 pass breakups, 4 interceptions as a corner as well. I just don't see how he's, you know, like, I know everyone was getting all swept away with Ashton Jeanty and what he was doing last Friday night for Boise State. I mean, he's a great running back. He's got over 2,400 yards, but I don't think, you know, and like Jesse and I were having the conversation. He's like, well, if you take Jeanty away from Boise State, are they a playoff team? And I said, you know, look, that's a different conversation because that's MVP versus the best player. You know, like I just don't think you can argue against Travis Hunter with what he has done at a very high level on both sides of the ball this year. And just, you know, like, again, just starting with the sheer amount of snaps that he was playing, but he's not just out there filling a uniform. He's excelling on both sides of the ball. He's got to win the Heisman.
Right.
Nobody's done anything like this in freaking decades.
Like I said, he's not the best offensive player. He's not the best defensive player, but he's really freaking good at both. And it's really hard to be really freaking good at both. And, you know, like you said, Charles Woodson won the Heisman Trophy, and he was a part-time, and that's generous, offensive player. You know what I mean? He was a full-time defensive player, really good at it. He's a very, 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 very part-time offensive player, and he was a returner, right? So he wasn't a two-way player like Travis Hunter is. He just wasn't. And, you know, Woodson won it over Peyton Manning. So if that's going to happen, then I'm sorry, Hunter should win it over Jeanty.
Yeah. Like we just, you know, again, we haven't seen a player like this.
And you're not going to, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that, this is an anomaly. This is an anomaly.
Yeah. TD says who'll be the next Travis Hunter. I think you'll probably be lucky if you ever see a guy like this again. You know, like,
I mean, you know, next year my kid could be kicking and punting. So he's going to be a two-way player,
right?
But just kidding.
So the Cam Scattaboo, Arizona State running back, you know, he posted on social media over the weekend that nobody respects the fact that he's the best running back in the country. Should he have been a Heisman finalist himself, Vince?
No. He literally has 1,000 less yards than Jeanty does. 1,000 less yards. Look, kid's a good running back. He's a solid running back. He runs the ball hard. The kid is like a classic, like, I don't want to make this sound negative, but it's going to come off that way. He's like a meathead frat boy. And it's somebody that I would totally anticipate going to Arizona State. But he's good at what he does, but he's not a Heisman Trophy candidate. Like when he scored the touchdown in the championship game and he struck the Heisman pose, I literally leaned over to Brian. I was like, really? Like, come on, dude.
Right. I just, you know, it's like cute. It's fun to watch, you know, big, heavy guy, you know, kind of churning through. And it's like the guy is, you know, like does not look overly athletic. You know, he's helped Arizona State do what they've done this year, but he is not deserving of the Heisman. You know, go Irish, you know, going back to the Hunters thing, he says if he was that good, they would have won their conference. You know, again, you're talking about MVP versus best player. I mean, there are a lot of great players who don't play on good teams because there are still 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense, and Travis Hunter, you know, like he can't make the offensive line any better. He can't make Colorado's pass rush any better. But when you look at what he did, just the 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns is a great season for any player.
Correct.
But then you flip it to the other side of the ball where he had 11 pass breakups and 4 interceptions this season.
Correct.
And played at an elite level on both sides.
Look, Ashton Jeanty was also playing against a group of 5 teams.
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't playing in a Power 4 conference like Hunter was. There's a difference in look, you can say what you want to about the Big 12 and how they weren't a very good conference or whatever you want to say. And that's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. But the Big 12 is still better than the conference that Boise State plays in. So he was playing against better competition.
Right.
So how about that?
Right. So I'm checking here to see if there's any new stuff on the Bill Belichick, because there was originally a report that Belichick took the job at North Carolina today, but then it was like, not so fast, my friend. He is not so he is in talks with North Carolina, apparently. But yesterday he was on the Pat McAfee show. He did his weekly hit on the McAfee show, and he had this to say. He didn't want to be very specific. He did have a meeting with North Carolina's chancellor. He said, quote, "If I was in a college program, the college program would be a pipeline to the NFL for the players that had the ability to play in the NFL. It would be a professional program, training, nutrition, scheme, coaching, and techniques that would transfer to the NFL. It would be an NFL program, but not at the NFL level." What do you think about that?
I'm hoping that Bill Belichick still has Charlie Weiss on speed dial. That's what I think about.
To me, it sounds like what Charlie Weiss was preaching when he walked in the door.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Part of the problem that Charlie Weiss had was there was too much focus on, hey, I'm going to get you to the NFL, as opposed to, hey, let's win football games.
Right. And it was all about, we're going to have the decided schematic advantage, like that whole thing. Right. And they didn't ever practice their backups. That was the problem. They didn't. He had good talent when he got there, and he took those guys and he did really good things with them, right? But he didn't develop anybody. That's the problem. And he went out and got real high-level recruits. That's great, but he didn't develop anybody. And so that's why it wasn't a good college football program. So, if Belichick comes in and they're really good for a couple of years, is it sustainable? Are you going to really treat it like an NFL program where you never hit and tackle and you never do certain things because you know that those guys in the NFL are doing those things outside and doing their own training and their own deal? Are you going to be able to do that in college? You can't really. Is it more? I'm going to push back against myself. In 2024, it's more of a professional setting than it was back in 2005 when Charlie Weiss was here 20 years ago. No doubt about that.
I mean, that's just the financial side of it.
Right. So is it more professional? Yes, but you still have to treat it like a college program. And I'm not saying Bill Belichick can't do it, but what he's saying there in that clip, that worries me.
Yeah, like Corey says, he thinks Belichick will do better than Charlie Weiss. I would think so too, because Belichick has been a head coach. Remember, Charlie Weiss was just a coordinator, and the fact that Charlie, didn't even play college football. I mean, he was obviously a great football mind and knew how to scheme and, all those different things. But the fact that he had never been in a college program and that all of his experience was in the NFL were essentially Belichick has a little bit, but most of his experience is in the NFL as well. And that's the biggest difference, if you're going to come to college now at the age that Bill Belichick is, with as much experience as he has, are you going to surround yourself, like people have talked about, would Marcus Freeman have been better off if you had a former head coach on the staff, as an, all these different things. Well, at least Marcus Freeman had coached under some guys like Fickle and Brian Kelly.
And he'd always been at the college level.
Right. Who knew how to, who put the emphasis on the development, it's a developmental, those are developmental programs. I think that that is the biggest area that Belichick is going to have to, to solve in a really short amount of time, quite frankly, because of his age.
Right.
Regardless of the coaching experience he has, there's still a huge difference when it comes to recruiting and again, like the development and the turnaround and everything else that comes with being a college coach. Quite frankly, when this came out with North Carolina, I just kind of thought it was Belichick sort of trying to get his name out there to see like what kind of NFL interest, might, kind of come out of this, which could be part of the deal still too, since nothing is done. And this initial report came out, I think like close to 7 hours ago now.
Oh, wow.
At this point. But yeah, it was kind of a red flag when I saw like all the stuff about NFL.
Yeah.
Because
it's going to be an experiment. That's for sure. And, obviously he's going to dip into the transfer portal and he's going to do all these different things to get North Carolina back to where he wants them to be. But I think it's more, well, I can't even say it's more than 1 year because who knows what you can do, but I think it's going to be more difficult than he thinks it is.
I agree. I completely agree with that. All right. I was looking to see if there were any more. Yeah, and kind of going back to, the Riley Leonard stuff. Brent was saying experts were predicting Leonard to be a top 10 pick his sophomore year. They were.
There was a lot of that buzz going around.
That big start. And that's, I think, why so much of our expectations this year were, at one level, but Leonard wasn't quite hitting it early on, and why he frustrated some people early on because of some of that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, all right, great stuff tonight. Appreciate everyone's input. As always, it's always fun when the chat gets going.
I know.
And, mixes it up.
This is where we've been, and this is what it's going to be, baby. Everybody just needs to get on board. Yeah. This is going to be a great month for Notre Dame football. It's going to be
already a great month, and it's trending in the right direction.
Yep.
Win on the 20th, play on New Year's Day. Oh, we all happy, baby. We all happy.
Go, baby.
Thank you, DJ. And, by the way, Joe Allen, I haven't even said, you remember a week or two ago, Joe Allen was asking about, does he ditch the in-law Christmas, after Christmas, or I guess that was before Christmas for the playoff game. And according to what I saw on the board, it looks like Joe Allen has got his playoff tickets for December 20th. So it sounds like he made a decision.
Oh man, that's ballsy. Ballsy.
Thank you very much, Tom. We appreciate it as always. TD4ND. DK says, is it time for rapid fire? DK was missing. He was MIA for a good chunk of the night, I think.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
Again, appreciate you. As always, we'll be back tomorrow. We got a mailbag show comboed with a little whiteboard. Jesse is looking at his IU. He's bringing in some IU whiteboard on tomorrow's show. So if you've been missing the whiteboard,
should I share with him some film so he can actually, some coaches film?
I know he told me 3 games that I know he was going to look at Ohio, Indiana's Ohio State and Michigan. And there was one other he mentioned. I can't remember.
But see he's got. See if he wants a little access.
Joe says, where did he go? I don't see the comment now. But Joe said the in-laws are not happy with him missing out on in-law Christmas for the playoff game.
Oh, actually,
it's Joe's birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, this is history, baby.
You're not
if
wrong.
Your in-laws don't understand this, I mean, I'm on your side, Joe. I think we're all on Joe's side.
USMA 87 says he wants film of Jesse as a player. The Google machine works. I guarantee you there's huddle film out there of Jesse Stiers.
I know it's still out there.
I guarantee it. It doesn't
Jesse
go away.
plugging A gaps and B gaps out there.
But that may be an off-season show where we have to bring up his film and analyze it. I think we could have some fun with that.
That's right.
Because any film of me or you, that's long gone.
So. He would have been a great Army linebacker had he decided to make that, decision, I think. So
I'm looking it up right now just to see what we can.
I'm pretty sure it's still floating around.
Oh no, it's there
someplace. Yeah.
No, it's definitely there. It is right there. Oh, the profile picture is lit.
Is it?
Oh my goodness!
Is that the one where he's drinking the water bottle?
No, that's against Ben.
Oh, where he's down and he's
yeah.
That was a good picture. That's one of my favorite action photos.
It's a great picture.
Yep. Yep, USMA Army has a good engineering program. Well, those days are gone now. I don't think the academy is in his future.
Yeah, so. I think we that ship has officially sailed.
Decaf wants to know how big Jesse was. Not big enough. There it is.
There it is. Look at that.
Right there.
Look at that animal.
That middle linebacker.
Oh, yeah, the big 2.5. Right there. Yeah. So it's there. It's there for your viewing pleasure, folks.
There you go. All right. Well, have a good one. Hit that like button before you head out. And again, we'll be in tomorrow, and Jesse will have that whiteboard with him as well. We will talk to you then on Ivy Nation Sports Talk.